I used to live in one of those dingy houses in Katwaria Sarai. And everywhere that you would go, right from your landlords to the corner shops, to bus drivers, the conductors, कुछ भी अगर गलत किसी ने किया तो ऐसे पूछते थे बिहारी हो क्या? Like, you know, अगर गलत किया तो बिहार से ही होगा और कहाँ से हो सकता है?
Devilal, the Deputy Prime Minister of India at one time, man from the grassroots with rustic wisdom, once said कि अगर कुत्ता काट ले तो 14 सुई लगवा लो, ठीक हो जाओगे। कुर्सी काट ले तो कोई इलाज नहीं।
Talk about a book that is pertinent and very timely. Timely because the Lok Sabha elections are around the corner, and also due to the recent switchover of Nitish Kumar from India Bloc to the BJP-led NDA. But before these events are discussed, I'd like to mention one of the early triggers for this book, and Mrityunjay will also tell you about it. The word Bihari in Delhi, especially on the Delhi University campus, is not just a regional identity. It is used more as a pejorative term by outsiders who have a very generic, vague opinion of the state. It's a slur, synonymous with remarks on all kinds of inadequacies one can conceive of. Are Bihari ho kya could mean anything, ranging from, are you a fool, to how rustic are you? And so this term Bihari has behind it a poor perception of Bihar and also its reputation as the B of the Bimaru states of India. Bihar, which was once at the heart of glorious empires like Nanda, Maurya, Gupta and Pala kingdoms, was the seat of great advancements in the fields of arts, science and spirituality. Some of their capitals, like Patliputra, had highly efficient models of self-governance. That same region devolved into one of the most backward states in independent India. From having one of the oldest universities in the world to being the birthplace of great religions like Buddhism and Jainism, it turned into a place plagued by caste atrocities, crime syndicates, deficient infrastructure, and a series of corrupt and short-sighted governments. Although Mrityunjay's book focuses on the Jungle Raj years in Bihar and Lalu Prasad Yadav's disastrous regime, it also traces the entire socio-political history of Bihar since independence, indicating that the undoing of Bihar began much before Lalu's triumph. I'll give you a brief introduction of Mrityunjay Sharma. He was born in undivided India. A first-generation entrepreneur, he is the co-founder of a startup called Biofy. He worked at Asian Paints in various capacities before moving to Chhattisgarh to work with the then Chief Minister, Dr. Raman Singh. Afterwards, he moved to his home state, Jharkhand, to work at the grassroots. Currently, he's working as Chief Election Manager for the BJP in Jharkhand. To speak to him about the book, we have Pavan Verma on the dais. Pavanji needs no introduction. He's a former diplomat, former Rajya Sabha member, a prolific writer, translator, and columnist. We were expecting Swapan Das Gupta to be here, but he's unable to join us. To lead the discussion, we have our good friend Advaita Kala, who is a best-selling writer, screenwriter, and columnist.
Thank you everybody for coming out here, and thank you so much Westland Books, Meenakshi, Mrityunjay, and of course one of my ever favorites, Pavan Verma ji, for giving me this opportunity to be in conversation with you all about what has been a fantastic read for me personally, because not familiar with the intricacies of Bihar and its politics, the eminently readable style of this book really sucks you in. It's anecdotal in parts, factual of course, very well researched, and fascinating reading. So thank you so much for introducing the reader to this book, Mrityunjay. Really very interesting read. And I'd like to first, of course, start with you. I think you would like to share a few thoughts, Mrityunjay, for a few to begin with, on the book, on your journey writing it, and of course, what you expect this to do for the reader.
Yeah, thank you. I started writing this book in 2019. Been a long time. And like every first-time author, I was skeptical that I would be able to finish it, let alone getting it published by, wonderful publishing house, which is Westland. But the entire, as Meenakshi gave some light on that, the entire interest of writing it was not any, was not to write the book. It was to tell a story maybe. And I think everybody has a story which they want to tell. And this was my story. And to write it was most like, I was writing diary to myself maybe, right? So as Meenakshi said, I first landed in Delhi in 2004 as an 18-year-old. I came here to prepare for IIT JEE. As a middle-class boy, we knew nothing of career options than engineering and medical. A lot of my friends are sitting here, all have traversed the same path. So to prepare for IIT JEE, came here. And as an 18-year-old, I actually realized what Meenakshi said, what coming from Bihar meant, right? I used to live in one of those dingy houses in Katwaria Sarai. And everywhere that you would go, right, from your landlords to the corner shops, to bus drivers, the conductors, कुछ भी अगर गलत किसी ने किया तो ऐसे पूछते तो बिहारी हो क्या? Like, अगर गलत किया तो बिहार से ही होगा और कहाँ से हो सकता है? Right? And it struck me, right, as to why would, this be such a pejorative term. And in fact, there's a instance that I've quoted in my book, right? In one of the FITGI doubt sessions, we had a teacher. She was a very wonderful teacher, and there were 3-4 of us who were, discussing doubts. And she very affectionately asked one of the guys, "Kahan se ho? Where are you from?" And he was like twisting and turning, and then he's like, "Ma'am, Bihar se hai." Right? And then the teacher counseled her, right? Why would you be so ashamed about it? I'm from Bihar. She said that. And it struck me as to what could be so wrong with the state that a guy who's 18 years old would be ashamed in admitting that he's from the state. Right? And it was nothing that had happened in one day or 1 year. It happened over a long period of time. Right? And then when I grew up, and whatever explanations I heard of Bihar were and there are a lot of books and there are a lot of intellectuals, but I'm sorry to say, whatever I came across seemed to be very superficial to me. So to depict a Bihari in, let's say, movies or books, it would be something like, एक corrupt politician बना दो, पान चबा रहा है और अनपढ़ है, वो बिहारी है. या कोई ऐसा बेवकूफ़ आदमी रोड पे जा रहा है, कुछ बेवकूफ़ी कर रहा है, वो बिहारी है. So the depictions were so superficial and, so simplistic. And the depiction itself, and we did not get into the depth of the problems at all. Nobody was discussing why was Bihar or is Bihar and how did it reach there, right? In fact, most of the things in Bihar are generally laughed off. So for example, let's say we laugh off at the thing that there's something called Pakadua Biyah in Bihar, wherein a groom is kidnapped and then, married off. We laugh it off. We say, how funny this is. It's not funny, right? And we say, okay, thoda law and order issue hoga, there must be some, corrupt politicians and so on. But no, what Bihar has gone through, I think, is unprecedented in any part of India at any point of time. So let's say a private caste armies wiping out entire villages, killing or slitting the throats of 30, 40, 50 people is unimaginable at any point of time in the country, at any state. Kidnapping becoming an industry, an organized industry. I'm not even saying industry because there were a lot of kidnappings. It was a proper organized industry with its, different players. Unthinkable in any part of the country. The shops, the vehicle shops, showrooms, sofa shops, jewelry shops, looted in daytime to arrange for vehicles and cars and sofa sets and jewelry for the Chief Minister's daughter's wedding is unimaginable in any part of the country, right? A Chief Minister's brother-in-law being charge-sheeted or at least named in a FIR in a rape case, and he refusing to give his blood sample. unimaginable in any part of the country. And hence, when I started writing the book, it was more of to make sense of what the state had gone through and what I had seen in front of my eyes, which when I was going through maybe looked very normal to me, because I had not seen the other parts of the world. But when I came out to the other states of India, studied in various schools, I started, understanding that this is unimaginable, right? So what started as a diary, in fact, the first chapter, you may be surprised that I wrote in this book, is called Caste Wars, if some of you have read the book. And its part is called Eye for an Eye, Aankh ke badle aankh. Because both the villages from my paternal side and maternal side, they were villages which were very, very prone to Naxalite attacks. The village from my maternal side was attacked 4 times. Lucky that they weren't able to enter the village and they survived. But yeah. So yeah, and we would get deeper into it, so that's the context, yeah.
Thank you for those opening comments, and brings me to my first question to Pawanji. Pawanji, you of course had a very illustrious diplomatic career, held prestigious positions like chair of ICCR, great scholarship, lots of feathers in your cap. Did you ever face this, oh, so you're from Bihar, or you're a Bihari?
First of all, let me begin by extending my genuine and very warm felicitations to Mrityunjay for a book which, as my blurb on the cover says, is truly a compelling read portraying the betrayal of Bihar. Let me also add that I was a member of the Foreign Service, and I resigned when I was ambassador in Bhutan to join politics and join Nitish Kumar, when the worst of the Lalu Yadav period was over and fast becoming a nightmarish memory. Nitish Kumar had been in power for 5 years. His first term once again raised hopes that Bihar could somehow climb out of the abyss into which it had sunk in the last decade and a half. And when I joined Nitish ji as his advisor, after I resigned, Bihar was seeing a change of perception by outsiders. Nitish Kumar himself was at that time, in my view, one of the most polished products of the socialist movement. He was educated, an engineer. He was known for his personal rectitude. He was admired for his administrative acumen, and also called Sushasan Babu for the changes that he had brought about in Bihar. I remember several awards coming to him of being the best chief minister and so on and so forth. In fact, he had the potential to have risen to the highest position in Indian politics, given his own background and personal achievements. I think volume 2 by Mrityunjay should be written on the fall of Nitish Kumar, from where he was and what he has become today, and of which his party is now an honorable alliance partner. But nevertheless, I think that somewhere between Awadh in Lucknow and Fort William in Kolkata, there was this stretch of land which fell between two stools. In Awadh, you had the trappings of a certain culture, princely culture, a Nawabi culture. In Fort Williams, of course, you had the paraphernalia of power, of imperial power. And Bihar was at one time a cradle of civilization, without doubt, for its many refinements, as have been mentioned by Meenakshi. I mean, it was a land of Maulik Soch, the power of original thought. Be it Chanakya, be it Aryabhat, be it any one, be it, I still remember, Mrityunjay, that when I first visited Patna after I resigned, I myself hail from a place called Ghazipur, my ancestral hometown, which is just across the Ganga from Bihar. So, half of my family is married into Bihar, but technically I am from Eastern UP, which is really a continuity of the same culture. When I went to Bihar, Nitish ji asked me to do a short tour for one day. And he sent me to 5 places around Patna. The first was Patna Sahib. The second was Bihar Sharif. The third was Pavapuri. The fourth was Bodh Gaya. And the fifth was Gaya. And he said, this is what Bihar represents. A soil where many religions thrived and demonstrated their originality of thought and proved that this land could be among the leaders of not only development but of ideas. That Bihar to have descended to the chaos that it became, the corruption of which it became a symbol. In not only, I would not blame only Lalu Prasad Yadav, the years before, the manner in which the Congress party dealt with the state, the manner in which Karpuri Thakur himself became a victim of the machinations of politics. Bihar has seen very few honest leaders. And it has been betrayed by its political leadership, as we saw most recently in the case of Nitish Kumar. And people have an outside perception about Bihar, but they are not aware of the degree of degradation as the result of corruption, caste prejudice, crime, and political venality. You don't have an idea, and this book chronicles it. And I think Mrityunjay wrote it in anguish at what this state had become. And I'm sorry to say that barren landscape, which is where morality, idealism, ideology have all become victim of the worst and coarsest form of transactional politics. It continues. And I've personally been a witness to the decline of the one hope that Bihar seemed to have, which was Nitish Kumar. Somebody was asking, was it Amrita or Meenakshi, as to what was the one fault or one weakness of Nitish Kumar? And I was telling both Mrityunjay and her that Devilal, the Deputy Prime Minister of India at one time, man from the grassroots with rustic wisdom, once said कि अगर कुत्ता काट ले तो 14 सुई लगवा लो, ठीक हो जाओगे। कुर्सी काट ले तो कोई इलाज नहीं। And that is precisely what has happened in the case of Nitish Kumar, where a man known for his ideological rectitude has switched sides brazenly. And I'm sorry to say, if he is a Palturam, every political party which has accepted him again and again is a Paltiram party as well. So, this is the scenario of Bihar today. And I can tell you one thing. 30 years of Nitish Lalu. And Bihar is exactly where it was 30 years ago. Look at any fact sheet on data and you will see Bihar at the bottom in terms of poverty, in terms of human development index. And so Bihar is really looking out for a change which is transformative, a change where voters are not used as cannon fodder to serve short-term, transient, cynical political interests, but to work to transform the quality of their lives. And there are some people there who are making the effort. Even if in a non-political sense, I worked very closely with Prashant Kishore. For the last 19 months, he has lived almost without a break in a tent in a village, walks 18 kilometers a day. And some of you may have heard him on TV, his party Jan Swaraj, not party, his movement Jan Swaraj, not yet a party, is seeking to make that transformative change because Bihar is crying out for that change. So I'll end my opening comments here.
Thank you. And Mrityunjay, over to you. I was very interested in while reading the chapter on the demise of the Congress in Bihar. And I think that is significant, isn't it? Because you went from a point of total dominance, this is the 80s, of course, and the unraveling of the Congress presence is something that we see in real time on a national scale today. But if you could discuss that a little bit.
So, yeah. So, Bihar has been a place which I would say is not very politically complacent, right? So, good or bad, I would say Biharis are generally politically very, very, aware of things, very involved. Go to any place, any chowk chowraha, and you'll just hear discussions on policies and politics and, and they'll be discussing Israel and Palestine, right? And you would be amazed at their kind of details that they would have gathered from several places. And so Bihar was one of the first places in India where Congress lost power in the 67 elections, if I'm not wrong, right? And thereafter, there was spate of unstable governments in Bihar, right? The socialist movement was picking peace, the Lohiite politics was picking peace. Then came the JP revolution. A lot of these leaders that we see today, whether Lalu Prasad Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Sushil Modi, all of these, Ram Vilas Paswan, while he had fought elections slightly before also, they all were broadly, they came up with the JP movement, right? And then the 77 government, both at the center and state, we had a non-Congress government. Then comes 1980, people are again disillusioned with the very fact that a non-Congress government could not survive at any of the places, right? And the primary reason, and which I see a parallel today also, is the non-Congress government or the Janata Party government in 1977, if you would see, had parties from across the spectrum. And if you would say, was there any uniting factor in their ideology? There wasn't. the only uniting factor was anti-Congressism. And hence that government could not survive, which is also very, I would say, parallel to what is happening with the India alliance right now. That alliance has come up with a ideology which is anti-BJP and not with the ideology that they support, right? So 1980, Congress comes back in government at both the places. In center also, Indira Gandhi comes back with a thumping majority. Bihar also, Congress comes back. But what happens in Bihar is, I would say, so Jagannath Mishra comes back as the chief minister. His tenure was marred with corruption like anything, right? And there's a very funny instance which I quote in the book also. So there was this, in Legislative Assembly in Bihar, Lalu was sitting in the opposition ranks and Jagannath Mishra was the chief minister. And in his usual, funny or those kind of tones, he said, जगन्नाथ मिश्रा जी ऐसे का पेट इतना बड़ा इसलिए है और ऐसे ये मटक के चलते हैं क्योंकि इन्हें ऑपरेशन करा के इन्होंने अपने पेट में सोना छुपाया हुआ है, राइट? एंड ही सेड आई चैलेंज, आप पेट फड़वा के देख ले, अगर सोना नहीं निकलेगा तो मैं रिजाइन कर दूंगा. So of course nobody believed him, but see the narrative, right? And such was the scale of corruption at that point of time. And then what happened is Jagannath Mishra started training guns at Indira Gandhi herself, and she said she would not, accept that. Then, I think Chandrasekhar came in. Then, there were the 5 chief ministers during those 10-year period, right? And then Jagannath Mishra was back again at the very end of it, So none of those chief ministers could complete even 3-4 year tenures. And so those 10 years, I would say, so while we talk about specifically in this book, the 15 years of misgovernance and misrule that Bihar saw under Lalu Prasad and, his wife, but those 10 years were also a precursor to what Bihar went through. Those 10 years were, it was not about governance or development. It was just holding on to power, which the Congress did through its various chief ministers, right? And it was the result of that by 1990, people were completely disillusioned with Congress, right? Because Congress had a very formidable, alliance in terms of vote bank, in terms of the kind of sections they catered to, right? So Congress had the forward castes, Congress had the Dalits, and Congress had the Muslims. So it was unbeatable in those terms, in terms of, electoral politics. But by the 1990s, with the slogans that started coming in, with the youthful energy that started coming in, and Lalu was a master at that, all of us know, right? So it felt like these are the leaders that Bihar needs, Let's throw away the old guards, let's bring in new people. These people would lead us into, lead Bihar into its old glory. And that's how I think, the Congress, it crafted its own demise, I would say, during the decade of the 1980s in India and in Bihar. Yeah.
Pavanji, do you have any observations of that period?
No, I can say that the Congress initially was the fountainhead of blatant corruption in Bihar. देखिए, बिहार की एक हिस्ट्री भी है. वो गरीब क्यों है? With Bihar was Jharkhand. Jharkhand was rich in mineral deposits. There were industries there. But by a strange twist in policy, the mineral exports in Bihar, instead of bringing Bihar revenue, were sold at the same cost in Tamil Nadu as part of policy. So, and in Bihar, there was a feudal system of agriculture which actually took away the incentive for the farmer to be either innovative or different, because irrespective of the yield of the crop, he had to give so much to the zamindar. And so it became a vicious cycle of perpetuating poverty, fattening on which politicians grew up in the crevices of government policies being manipulated to make individuals rich. And the Congress, the craftsperson party of the license Raj, flourished in Bihar and became a role model for politicians who came later. And the remarkable thing about Bihar is that genuine emotions for changing social hierarchies, oppression of higher castes of lower castes, a genuine aspiration in Jati bound Bihar. When I joined Nitish Kumar, since my name is Verma, there was huge speculation that I may be a Kurmi. And that is why Nitish Kumar has got me in. Whereas unfortunately for those people, I was a caste. But everything in Bihar is seen through the prism of caste. I am not saying Bihar is an exception. There are states, including in the south, where everything is caste. But in Bihar, though, it's endemic. And the oppression as a result of caste. I mean, forward castes, I think, are about 20%.
No, not even 20. So latest, 12, 13%.
12, 13%. If they are 15%, they own 80% of the wealth of the state. And the other castes were not only oppressed, but humiliated. And don't forget, when I talk of other castes, I don't mean only the Yadavs. Nitish Kumar crafted another section called extremely backward castes, and below that the Dalits themselves. I mean, the Dalits, they are also not a monolith. There are at least 3 distinct categories within them, and the last one, the Musahars, are literally still at the periphery of civilized society as we know it. So there was a genuine aspiration for social change, for social equality, and Lalu Prasad became the mascot, the token for it. And he reveled in his dramatic dismantling of the old social order. He reveled in his rustic Bhojpuri combined with the odd word in English, and is showing the place to a Brahmin IAS officer by making him hold the spittoon in which he spit his pan, and so on and so forth. And there was a vicarious pleasure derived by a lot of people who had gone through similar humiliation in the past. So, Lalu Yadav genuinely represented in the initial stages a social revolution that Bihar was waiting for, whose first precursor was Karpuri Thakur. But subsequently, what people don't realize is that caste is a very complex thing. The Yadavs themselves were the creamy layer of the backward castes and also very militant. And the other castes were oppressed below them by the Yadavs. And the Yadavs also had the ability not only to be lathets, but to have almost every police station headed by a Yadav who would condone the crime made by a Yadav. So ultimately, Lalu Yadav became a victim of his own hubris, that I am undefeatable. क्या percentage यादव से आपके latest demo? 14, 13, 14. And you add 16%, let's say, Muslims. So it becomes an unbeatable combination. What is happening now is that the Yadav vote is getting fractured. The BJP has enticed many. The Muslims, unfortunately, in Bihar have no option but to go to the Yadavs because they fear the BJP. And then you have successors like Tejasvi, who are ninth pass. Can you lead a modern state in the 21st century on the basis of lineage? I mean, It's amazing. भाई और स्टेट्स में चीफ मिनिस्टर्स के बेटे वॉटन गए, हार्वर्ड गए, लौट के आए, पढ़े लिखे, अप्रेंटिसशिप किया. हाँ, डायनेस्टीज तो इस देश में प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी 100% राइट, विद द एक्सेप्शन ऑफ 2 पार्टीज. और बीजेपी में अब इसलिए नहीं हो रहा है, माफ़ कीजिएगा आप दोनों तरफ, क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के बेटे ने नहीं तो इस तरह का पर्सनैलिटी कल्ट बीजेपी में भी अब बन गया कि शायद वहाँ भी डायनेस्टी आ जाती. तो खैर उनके गुजरात से भाई तो हैं ही अमित शाह. दूसरी बात यह है कि डायनेस्टी इज prevalent across the country, but rarely have you seen such an example of it as you see in Bihar. One son who is mentally specially abled, and one son who has not passed school, sailing along on the lineage of family. It's quite unbelievable. So the Congress vote bank, as he rightly put it, Brahmins, upper caste, forward caste broadly, Dalits and Muslims, got fractured with the socialist movement. The Dalits and the backwards went with the socialists. The forward castes were disillusioned with the Congress after Indira Gandhi and the rise of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement and so on and so forth. So the Congress has lost its vote base, and now the Congress today, I may be wrong, but I don't think they'll cross 40 in the next elections. Huh? Maybe they will, maybe they won't even touch that, because that's another party which has the amazing ability to keep propping up a de facto leader whose only consistency has been his consistent failure. And even that will do. Incompetent leaders also do well. But there is no party organization left. अब बिहार में जाइए, कांग्रेस का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ही नहीं है, देश भर में नहीं है. So you cannot build the first floor of a house without the ground floor, except in fantasy. So in this scenario now, Congress's decline was evident, and by the way, the Congress has been in secular decline since 84. It has not happened under Rahul Gandhi. 1984 was the last time the Congress won on the basis of an absolute majority. After that, it has come to power only as coalitions. And after 2014, of course, its demise has been precipitous. So Bihar mein Congress doesn't exist. So that is my comment on the situation.
I have a question related to this for Mrityunjay. So since you're strategizing for elections in Jharkhand, had Jharkhand not been carved out of Bihar, separated from it today, if that happened today, what would the vote bank mapping look like if the two states were one?
Slightly difficult to answer very accurately maybe. But so when we see historically when the state was undivided, the southern Bihar, which is the present day Jharkhand, was essentially more BJP heavy in terms of the seats of the BJP that came in used to be more from this part of the country, this part of the state, which is Jharkhand today. But post the formation of Jharkhand as a separate state, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, which was one of the proponents of a separate state, and one of the parties which led that movement, they went on becoming stronger and stronger, and they are a major player now. I would say the bifurcation of Jharkhand was anyway very inevitable because the two parts, Bihar and Jharkhand, are apart from the geographic similarity, are very different in terms of the culture, the topography, in fact, right? The climate, in fact, the languages, in fact, right? So I think it was inevitable, and the struggle for having a different state of Jharkhand went on, till since the first state reorganization committee, in fact. So that struggle was going on since the first state reorganization committee in the 1950s. So that was inevitable, and I think I would not have the data to say what would be the condition if the state had been one, which is what seems to me very, very impossible. Because we see Chhattisgarh also, a very similar state, which was carved out, and then Telangana also. So there was a massive, massive demand for the separate state, and had to be done sooner or later, right? Yeah.
Pavanji, I want to ask you about Lalu Prasad Yadav, and this was an interesting observation Mrityunjay made in his book, is that although he did present himself as the heir to the legacy of Lohia and Kapuri Thakur and the socialist legacy, he's not that ideologically connected with socialism. Maybe Nitish Kumar has more of a claim on that legacy than Lalu does. And yet he managed to own it, to project it. He projected an image of someone who was charming, rustic, even harmless. And I think that was really his genius in a way, wasn't it? His political genius, that he came across as somebody who was harmless and lovable and a son of the soil.
I'll say one thing. No one can doubt the exceptionally modest and subaltern origins of Lalu Yadav. He was born in poverty. He came to Bihar, where his uncle was, I think, a milkman, and lived in the veterinary college. And he actually, after becoming chief minister, he stayed on in that college. Every time I visited Lalu's residence, there was a stark contrast to the residence of Nitish Kumar and Lalu Yadav. Nitish Kumar is a more private person. He likes his little circle of courtiers, like most political leaders. But he doesn't like, after a certain time of the day, the unwashed masses surrounding him. लालू यादव जी के आप 10 बजे रात को जाइए, एक तो जमीन पे बैठे अपने धोती और वो, और the whole place is milling with workers, and he is talking to them, कुछ खाए हो कि नहीं, और ये सब चल रहा है. It's a totally different milieu. He was actually a people's man, and he genuinely represented the aspiration of those oppressed under the curse of the caste system for greater empowerment. There is no doubt about it. But if you ask Laluji to give a little lecture on Marx, so it will be unfair, na? Like if you ask somebody from the Bajrang Dal to write a 2-page paper on Hinduism and say that unless you write it in a manner which will allow you to pass, you can't get out of a room, for they'll spend their life in the room. So it's the same analogy. And unfortunately for the BJP, the Bajrang Dal is the fastest growing organization. The RSS is the polished product of the BJP. These are lumpen organizations. So, actually the social reform movement became a lumpen avenue for personal aggrandizement, for corruption, with Yadav domination. And that is what sums up Lalu. And at some point, but for the Chara Ghotala, where he was caught in the only, probably your Jharkhand chief minister is another unfortunate soul who as chief minister has been arrested. which is another form of misuse of authority. But in the case of Lalu Prasad, he was a sitting chief minister, I think, when he was arrested. And Rabdi Devi became, I mean, क्या क्या नहीं हुआ बिहार में? कभी सोचिए आप इस प्रदेश में. तो अब या तो बदलेगा बिहार या नहीं बदलेगा. इसमें डबल इंजन या सिंगल इंजन सरकार का सवाल नहीं है. इसमें एक माइंडसेट बदलने का सवाल है बिहार में. नहीं तो वही जातिवाद होगा, वही कास्ट मैट्रिक्स बनेगा, उसी तरह के बाहुबली फिर से यूज होंगे सत्ता के लिए. तो क्योंकि आई हैव टू गो, मैं एक छोटी सी शेर आपको सुना के जाता हूं, क्योंकि बिहार का सारा सिंड्रोम ही यही है और सब पार्टीज का है. किसी ने लिखा है कि कुर्सी है तुम्हारा जनाना तो नहीं है, कुर्सी है तुम्हारा जनाना तो नहीं है, अगर कुछ कर नहीं सकते तो उतर क्यों नहीं जाते. तो
I think I'm already getting an idea for another panel with you in conversation with an intellectual Bajrang Dali on Hinduism, because they do exist. But moving on, you know, to you, Mrityunjay. Mrityunjay, you know, his transition from this very humble son of the soil politician who still lived in his uncle's servant quarter in the veterinary institute to this guy who was having people carrying the spittoon along behind him was very quick. It was merely, I think, a year, 18 months or something from what I've read in your book.
Yes. Quick response to what you're saying. In Bihar, अगर लालू ने कहा कि मेरा वो स्पिटून लेकर के कोई चले ब्यूरोक्रेट, कई स्टेट्स में ब्यूरोक्रेट्स मना भी कर सकते थे. बिहार में द कोऑप्शन इनटू पावर is a very strong element. अगर पॉलिटिशियन कहता है कि ये कर दो, तो ब्यूरोक्रेट सुझाता है कि हजूर ये क्या मांग रहे हैं आप, अरे कुछ और मांगिए, ये भी हो जाएगा. The nature of the society is so feudalistic in terms of the hierarchy of power. And so I consider culpable all those who were elements of the power structure, and especially the bureaucracy.
Yeah. So, in fact, yes, the switch was very quick, I would say, Adwaita, because the intent was that, is what I understand, and very extensively I have read on Bihar and Lalu, and and the kind of persona that I have been able to gather is, so let's say when you compare, as Sir said, Karpuri Thakurji and Lalu Prasad Yadav, right? Karpuri Thakurji I would still consider a very true socialist. He was somebody who stood for reservations in 1978. Nobody even talked about it then. And even then he did not just say a blanket reservation. He said, let's divide the OBCs into OBCs and EBCs. Nobody even thought of EBCs then. He also included a 3% reservation for economically backward people among the forwards. 3% for women. Look, think of the forward thought of that man then. And Karpuri Thakurji, while he was in power in terms of being the leader of opposition, chief minister, deputy chief minister, he died without any possessions. He did not have vehicles to travel into. So most of the times that he would need to go to somewhere, he would have to ask for a vehicle. And that man died without any possessions, right? In contrast, and even then when in 78 he suggested reservations, he did not abuse the forward caste. He did not say let's overturn it, let's overturn the structure, let's get them out. He did not say that. He assuaged their fears. He said we have to build an equitable society. He took everybody along. Contrast this with Lalu when Mandal Commission came in. He said, and these are his statements quoted everywhere, अब शर्ट के ऊपर गंजी पहनने का टाइम आ गया. He actually went into a sabha in Dhanbad वो कुर्ते के ऊपर उसने वेस्ट डाल लिया. He said कि जो फॉरवर्ड कास्ट से ऊंची बिल्डिंग बनाओ, राइट. So when people, he would go into these villages and say, यार सब कुछ तो ठीक है, इज्जत भी अच्छी बात है, लेकिन सड़क भी बनवा देते. तो he would say, सड़क का क्या करोगे, तुम्हारे पास गाड़ी है क्या? सारी गाड़ियां तो फॉरवर्ड कास्ट के पास है, तुम गाड़ी का क्या करोगे?
आप
सम्मान लो, विकास नहीं सम्मान चाहिए. This was a slogan and people actually were led into shouting this slogan. They would say विकास नहीं सम्मान चाहिए. He was actually, he actually, and that does not come because he was in power. It was his natural persona. He just got into power and his true self came out. And Nitish Kumar, who was very instrumental in getting him to power, right? Even Lalu acknowledges it. Getting him the chief ministerial position. Just a year or two after that, he started shunning Nitish like anything. And these are his quotes. He said, Nitish spoke about Vikas, development. He said, क्या development रटते रहते हो? Development से कोई सत्ता मिलती है? सत्ता मिलती है vote bank से. And then there was this very famous feud in the Bihar Bhavan in 1994, when Nitish said it has been, and this is quoted in one of the books, Shrikant, he has compiled those letters, and where Nitish writes it very extensively. He writes that we as socialists, what we thought and we discussed, that when we get to power, we'll do this and we'll do that. What you have really become is like the worst of any other politician. You're just exploiting power for your own good, for people around you, for just one caste. You have not even taken all the other backward castes into account. So even if it were, let's say, you're saying you're a leader of the backwards, you would have taken all the backwards. But what you essentially did was just take one caste along and made it the Sarkar of that caste. So I think that's the true. So in fact, the brazenness, and Sir quoted one or two instances. Look at the brazenness when he was in power. His daughter, the eldest daughter, Misa Bharti, she did not crack the medical entrance examination. So what Lalu did? He got her admitted into Jamshedpur Medical College on a TISCO quota, Tata Steel quota. None of the parents were Tata Steel employees, neither Lalu nor Rabdi. So they first got her admitted to Jamshedpur Medical College, then got her transferred to PMCH, Patna Medical College. Then she topped the MBBS exam when Rabdi Devi was the chief minister. She topped the MBBS exam and did not even practice for a single day in her life. She is a topper MBBS. Look at the irony of Bihar.
ये सब कुछ मिला लीजिए और उसके बाद जो प्रोहिबिशन ने बिहार में किया है, it takes the cake of the most ingenuous way of ruining a generation and perpetuating corruption. मतलब I tell you, Biharis are such good minds. क्या सिस्टम डिवाइस किया है होम डिलीवरी का, होम डिलीवरी ऑफ द विस्की और वट एवर यू ड्रिंक ऑफ योर चॉइस. उसके बाद आपके घर में पार्टी हुई और बॉटल में कुछ बच गया जिसको रखने में आप डर रहे हैं, तो आपका कलेक्शन सिस्टम भी है. वो आएगा आपके यहाँ, वो आपकी बॉटल आपके सामने मार्क करेगा कहाँ तक है, उसको वापस ले जाएगा. इसमें सारी पार्टियां सम्मिलित हैं. नीतीश कुमार ने जब प्रोहिबिशन किया तब वो लालू के साथ थे. नीतीश कुमार के परपेचुएशन के कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस देखते हुए वो बीजेपी के साथ थे. नीतीश कुमार के मतलब रुइनेशन ऑफ बिहार ऑफ बिकॉज ऑफ प्रोहिबिशन, तब वो बीजेपी के साथ थे और अब फिर से है और लालू के साथ थे. आई मीन हर हाई कोर्ट जज, हर ब्यूरोक्रेट शराब पी रहा है, उनके कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर शराब पी रहे हैं. एंड यू नो बिहार इज अ पोरस बॉर्डर. इधर यूपी है, उधर झारखंड है, उधर नेपाल है, उधर वेस्ट बंगाल है. एक होल जेनरेशन ने कहा पढ़ाई लिखाई में क्या रखा है, मोटरसाइकिल पे बैठो, बॉर्डर क्रॉस करो, 4 बोतल रखो, पुलिस के साथ वैसी अरेंजमेंट है, हर बोतल पे 300-400 कमा लो, दिन में 1,500 कमा लिया, 45,000 महीने का कमा लिया, कौन सी नौकरी मिलने वाली है. होल जेनरेशन हैज बीन रूइंड. सब चुप है, सबको लालू यादव याद है.
It was to be honest, and Meenakshi is privy to this. Meenakshi, you can come here please. Meenakshi is very privy to this. It was too tough to find a picture that would depict the Bihar in the 90s. We did not want it to be a picture of either Lalu Prasad Yadav or Nitish Kumar, because it is not just about that person. We did not want it to be, about one of these instances or one of these monuments of Bihar and so on. We wanted it to be depicting Bihar in totality in terms of what it went through in the 1990s. And hence, this picture specifically struck me because one of the very stark, though sad, but striking features of the 1990s is the private caste militias, which some of you know, that existed in Bihar, and how it ruined entire villages. So on the left side, there were these Naxalite factions. The MCC was the strongest of them, the Maoist Coordination Center. On the other side, every caste had their own armies. Some of you who have not been to Bihar may not even believe this. And these were not small armies, these were proper armies. So the Bhumihas had the Ranveer Sena, the Rajputs had a Salnite Sena, the Yadavs had a Lorik Sena, the Kurmis had a Bhumi Sena. Every caste had their own senas. And the fights between these senas would not be just limited to fights between them. So what they would do is essentially, and the book starts with that, my own experience with that. One of the first massacres in the 1990s, it happened in a village called Bara in Gaya district, right, in 1992, wherein the MCC, one of the Naxalite factions, they got a misinformation that one of their enemies, which is Ramadhar Singh, who belonged to another forward caste, he was hiding in that village. So they attacked the village at night, almost 500 of them. They went knocking on the doors. They were dressed as policemen. They knocked these doors and said, "We have just come to search for that man, will not harm you, we are from police." But their real intentions are something different. They then started rounding up all the men in the village. They tied their hands. They took them to a nearby canal. In Bihar, you have these small canals in most of the villages. Nearby canal. There were almost 40 of them. They were asked their castes. Which caste do you belong to? So 3 or 4 of them, they said, "We are not Bhumihars, we are Brahmins." So there's slight difference if you don't have been to that part of the country. So we are Brahmins, which is slightly different from Bhumihars. So they said, "You can go." There were 2 Dalits, they let them go. There were 34 Bhumihars who were there. They tied their hands, they slit their throats and left them to die there. They also, what they did very intelligently is, in Bihar in those times, you could not even find electricity in the top towns, let alone be villages, no roads. So they cut these big trees so that even whatever dusty paths existed, police could have come there. So to stop them, they cut these trees and let them. So the entire night, and they burned the entire village, right? The police could only come the next day. This was one of the first instances. And this continued till 2000. Next 8 years, there were 59 such incidents of massacres. These were not just murders of 2 people. Those are like daily affairs. These were proper massacres wiping out villages. Almost 600 people were killed in these massacres. So that's one of the features which I don't think has existed in any other part of the country at any point in time since independence. And this is one of the pictures where these people, one of these private caste militias, they're just walking through a village, right? So the villagemen or their castemen considered them to be their own.
Some of them look very frail and old even. I don't know. I mean, was it age agnostic or was it young men?
No, it was an ideology thing. So nothing existed. It was not like they were trained or something. It was just whoever can volunteer to save our own castemen. So everybody, young, old, frail, rich, poor, 95% of them would not have food to have in their houses, honestly. But they would be buying a gun. But on the other side, I also want to talk about the flip side. You cannot just criticize them by saying how foolish of them they could have, spent on education and food. Why did they buy guns? Because the state was not saving them. Because if they would, and I'm not supporting this, but I've been, to those villages wherein there was no protection for them. So either they would have gotten killed or they would have resisted. So they chose to resist. Right? And this is one of those private Scotch militias, yeah. And for the second question, why somebody else should read it, I think because, again, what I said is, this period represents something which is so unprecedented that everybody should understand Bihar beyond the superficial depiction of it that comes through, movies and, normal conversations and so on. And also to understand how bad can conditions be in a broken state. How bad can it go actually?
I have one about the BJP, since you work with the BJP. What are the odds that the BJP will be able to stand on its own in Jharkhand and Bihar?
Jharkhand, I would be very optimistic in. So if you look at the Lok Sabha elections, last time we won 12 seats out of 14, one with alliance partner, which is AJSU. This time also it will be 12 plus, definitely, and there are very little doubts about it. Come Vidhan Sabha elections in December of the same year, I think we have very strong chances this time. A couple of reasons for that. One, the last time there were certain factors which, and certain misinformation that had spread in the rural areas in terms of, there are certain tenancy acts and so on which are applicable in Jharkhand. Among the tribals specifically, and there was some misinformation spread that those tenancy acts are going to be repealed and so on and so forth, and that is what had brought a lot of tribal votes to JMM, right? But what has happened in the last 4 years, and many of us know about, is the Chief Minister Hemant Soren. He went to jail. He went to jail not in some, it's more than obvious now. So the things that he has done, and it looks very foolish actually. So he got land registered in his own name, right? He got industrial land registered in his wife's name, right? He took mines in his own name. So even the common people in Jharkhand say he should have been at least that intelligent to take it in somebody else's name, right? But so are his advisors. And so he's now inside. In fact, ED has taken custody of him. He's been under custody for almost over a month now. There's a new chief minister. But what it has exposed is that the last 4 years, again, the same rhetoric. So let's draw a parallel with Lalu in the 1990s. So the rhetoric with which Hemant Soren and JMM had come into power with Congress as a junior partner was bringing the dignity of the rights of the tribals. That hasn't happened. What has happened with Lalu, the dignity of some of the men around him came back and their rights. Same has happened with Hemant. The dignity and the prosperity of the few men have come around him has come back, and not of the real people on the ground, right? So that's my assessment of Jharkhand. For Bihar, I would say Bihar, if you see historically the data, again I said Bihar is a state which is politically the last state to be complacent. And the people are extremely politically aware. Never has one party been in power in Bihar in the last 30 years on its own, right? It has always been a combination of parties. No party has won its own majority. What has happened lately is, and Pawan Verma ji was very right in saying that JDU is eventually going to die. There is no successor for Nitish Kumar in JDU, right? It's on its way to its demise. The last elections also, it barely got 45 seats. It's no longer as big a party as the BJP or the RJD. So JDU will eventually meet its demise. The BJP has been taking its place. Lok Sabha elections, I'm very sure, because JDU, BJP, and now the LJP also has come in alliance. It would be almost 35 plus, definitely almost 37, 38 seats out of the 40 that has. In the 2025 assembly elections, it will be very interesting to see, to be honest, and I'm waiting for those elections to come to see what happens. But what my assessment says is Nitish Kumar will, actually cease to be a potent political force by then.
And Prashant Kishore?
So I think Prashant Kishore has been doing a wonderful job in terms of visiting, traveling around the state, going on ground. We should always, irrespective of the ideology or the side that we are on, we should always appreciate somebody who's actually trying to do something on the ground. Either make a difference, send across a message, or at least connect with the people. That's like real hard work. It takes a lot of effort, right? So he's been touring the state, doing a wonderful job, talking on the right things, which is education, health, and so on. But if you ask me politically in terms of converting it into seeds and power, I think it will be too early. Even 2025 will be too early for him. This may have to sustain for another 5 years for him to even be as politically important as, let's say, a LJP, I would say. Yes. So one thing about Bihar and generally in politics in India, I would say is people look at legacy, right? And that's why you would see in India, none of the parties which did not pass on the reins of the party to their heirs, they did not survive. That's the saddest part.
So that's an argument for Parivarwad.
No, but that's the saddest part. If you do not pass on the baton to your heirs, the party ceases to exist. I would want it to be different, but that's the, and in Bihar also, and so you would say, let's say Pashupatinath Paras went away with a larger faction of the LJP, but would people rather recognize LJP with him or Chirag Paswan? The answer is obvious, with Chirag Paswan, right? And that is what, so to create a legacy in such a state as Bihar, where people are so politically aware, they would want to test him. They want to. So let's say Pushpam Priya, you would have heard of her. Last year, she spent so much on ads and billboards and front page newspapers. I don't think she got even 1,000 votes in her own constituency. So people will not accept you unless you show that you are serious about it. You're going to stay there. You're going to spend time, work there. So 2025, too early for him.
I wish Swapanda was here because I was going to ask about the Bhojpuri actors who the BJP seems to be absorbing, not only in Bihar but also in other parts of the country, in West Bengal. One of them, of course, Pawan Singh has, sort of switched back. So that appeal is pretty strong, isn't it? And I think one Bhojpuri actress has moved to Prashant Kishore's movement as well, one of the top actresses.
Yeah, so again, I would not say it's something desirable, but that's what it is, right? That's the irony of a democracy wherein people like to vote for somebody that they know and can identify with. So let's say if you jump into the fray and say, I have such qualifications, I'm so, let's say, educated, I want to work, and this is I present my SOP and I'll work with you and so on. People will just reject you. So to be able to identify with somebody, to be able to know even somebody, oh, I know him. Okay, this man is standing for elections, I know him. That's enough. And so they would vote for him. And the Bhojpuri actors or actresses are very well known in that part of the state. And even outside also, in the diaspora, so let's say Manoj Tiwari in Delhi, very well known, right? So they get a very instant kind of a click with the voter base. And so, and democracies work on winnability. And every party targets that. And so they are the candidates that come to us. So, yeah. Very interesting question on Panchayati Raj. In fact, I would also quote what happened in the Lalu era. So, the last Panchayat elections before Lalu era happened in Bihar in 1978. Until 2001, when he was actually forced by the High Court to get the Panchayat elections conducted, in those 23 years, no Panchayat elections happened in Bihar. So the term of the Panchayat Mukhias and Pramukhs expired in 1983, and thereafter they kept getting extensions, these Panchayats and Mukhias, like where there were some administrative officers. And they kept on being the Mukhias or Pramukhs for the next 20 years. And when some of them died, there was a dedicated director in the Panchayati Raj Vibhag who would nominate new people, nominate Mukhias, not even elect. They would nominate new Mukhias, whoever would be close to the party. And those elections, the Panchayat elections were marred with such violence that you cannot imagine. So when we talk about electoral violence, we actually cannot imagine the kind of electoral violence that used to happen in Bihar. It was not just normal people getting killed. MLAs were killed because they defeated the other one. And there are examples of the Prabhunath Singh, He had a very famous quote. He said, Pur Vidhayak se to, he quoted something like, Pur Vidhayak se kya rehna zyada acha hai? And he said, if somebody else wins against me, he's not going to survive. And he actually killed the other guy. He was convicted on that. And there would be so many party cadres and normal people, and about the murder of Chandrasekhar, the JNU students leader, right? He started working on, he was killed. In the present context, if you ask me, yes, situations have changed. There's so much visibility and transparency now that such blatant acts would not be possible. So for example, let's say the murder of J. Krishnaiah, the district magistrate of Gopalganj in 1994, daylight lynching of that district magistrate would not be possible now in Bihar or any part of the country now, because there's so much of visibility and everything, right? But if you talk about the local self-governments, it still needs to go a long, long way. And it's not just in Bihar, but all parts of the country. What happens generally is anybody who gets power, they want to keep it to themselves. The state government, the chief minister, the party in power, they would want to keep it to themselves. And so a lot of powers that need to be devolved to these Panchayati Raj institutions, a lot of these, different subjects, they don't get devolved. Even, so the simplest example I could quote. So there should be a state finance commission. Like there is a central finance commission, there has to be a state finance commission that has to be constituted every 5 years in every state. The mandate of the state finance commission is that it would decide how much funds and how the funds would get devolved to these Panchayati Raj. And how can there be additional sources of fund for these Panchayati Raj institutions and municipal bodies. In Jharkhand, in the last 4 years, there wasn't a state finance commission constituted. Then center had some funds which it said if you do not constitute this state finance commission, almost 3,000 crores, it will not get passed to you. So last week they have just constituted it. And that's the truth about most of the states in the country. Anybody who gets power, they do not want to devolve it. And unless they devolve power, the Panchayati Raj institutions or these municipal bodies, they're just on paper. So 80% of the book, I would say, 80 to 85% of the book talks about this period of 1990 to 2005, which is the Lalu era as we call it. However, as I say, as Pawanji also said, it is not just that Bihar degraded in that era only. I would say that degradation precipitated in that era, but previously also the promises were broken, right? So let's say a freight equalization policy that we spoke about, that was a policy which Jawaharlal Nehru instituted in the 1950s to say that every part of the country would have minerals at the same cost so that there could be uniform industrialization across the country. And what happened as a result of that? The industries started coming up in coastal areas where there were ports, right? So let's say in Mumbai, in Gujarat, in Tamil Nadu, because they were getting minerals at the same cost. So a state, then Bihar, now Jharkhand, which holds 40% of the minerals of coal and iron ore, did not have industries coming up there. And that was one of the major reasons for the deindustrialization of that part of the country. All the minerals would be transported to the coastal areas. So there were a lot of factors, that constituted to where Bihar is today also. And the three factors that I quote in the book, which are the three most important factors for what Bihar is today, is one, the entire permanent settlement system of Jamindari, which the British instituted, the freight equalization policy, and the period of 1990 to 2005 during Bihar actually did not grow. It grew at 1% of GDP, 1% growth in the GDP during those 15 years. And these three factors I consider to be the most important, as broken promises, so as to say.
On that note, thank you for a very interesting book, very interesting conversation. I think even for people who are not that in tune with Bihar politics, this is still going to be a really interesting read, because it certainly was for me. So thank you, and looking forward to the next one on the years analyzing, or rather the Nitish Kumar and his time in office, another fascinating person who was just sworn in for the 9th time.
Yeah.
So that's a record on its own.
Yes.
So would love to read about him. Mrityunjay, get to work after the elections. But thank you everybody for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.